Good evening. Tonight we'll be discussing food and food storage, food preparation, food acquisition in terms of in the urban environment, in the rural, and in the suburban environment, and for the periods of the first 3 weeks, the first 3 months, and ongoing. In all three environments, at least for the short term, for the first few days through to the first few weeks, you could do worse than to have a host of things like sweet biscuits, energy bars, snacks, stuff like that. In those first few weeks, you need a quick burst of energy. You need to have it readily available. You need to have it easily cooked or not requiring cooking. You need to have it so that you can literally pull it out of your pocket, have a snack, and keep on going, doing whatever you're doing if you're travelling or if you're trying to hide or trying to do some sort of work. You need to be able to get that done with a minimum possible input in terms of cooking temperature, any sort of process, in terms of whether or not there's, believe it or not, a cooking smell going out around your environment so that it doesn't bring the two-legged predators in. You have to be able to keep yourself and your family, and those dear ones, without putting them at risk. This snack facility is particularly beneficial to the urban environment. What it actually does is it allows you to be able to give yourself an energy boost with a minimum amount of input from anybody else, and without letting anybody else know exactly what the scenario is. For the suburban and the rural environment, it has less of an impact, but it's still extremely beneficial. You can still have that energy burst without any hassle, without anybody coming up and sort of giving you a hard time about it or wanting to steal stuff off you. So it's still very, very good. As you can tell, in my opinion, the vast majority of the impact for any sort of cyber attack or EMP pulse attack is going to be in the urban environment. That's where the greatest effect is going to happen. People will go crazy in there, and people will be looking for whatever food is available. You need to be able to get food for yourself and your own people, and with the greatest respect, to hell with everybody else. So that's a 3-week period. Whenever you extend that out to 3 months, again in the urban environment, it becomes really, really, really dicey. Storage of food becomes a bigger problem. We've already discussed about storage of water. The storage of water in the urban environment. Water is an incredibly bulky item. And if you're talking about food, food's incredibly bulky as well. So you have tins of stuff. Now the average tin is what? 5 inches tall by 3 inches across. And it's circular in cross section. So the bottom line is there's a tremendous amount of lost volume. And in addition, the sheer mass of the stuff. So if you're talking about 4 people eating 3 times a day for 120 days, that's 360 meals by 4 people. 1,000 odd meals. That's a lot of space that you're going to take up. So you've got to take all of that sort of thing into account. And if you're going to start cooking the thing, my personal belief is that if you have a cooking mechanism, a stove, something like one of those gas barbecues that you can get out of the likes of B&Q or out of Tesco's or something like that, whenever they have all of the barbecues, and then at the end of the summer they sell everything off dirt cheap, because all of they're trying to get rid of the end of line stuff for bringing in Christmas stuff. So therefore, at September time, get yourself a barbecue. Get it about half price. Nice big gas barbecue. Have it so that you have X number of burners and a ring. You have the ring that allows you to be able to boil water, boil soup, make spuds, boil spaghetti. That's the sort of thing you're talking about. You're talking about being able to make a one pot meal / 2 pot meal. You're not going to be looking for a 3-course meal for the 3 months. You're not going to be running around looking at my traditional Sunday dinner with a Sunday roast and leg of lamb and Yorkshires and all the rest of this sort of stuff. No. You're talking about feeding people so that they get by, so that they exist. And in the first 3 months after an event, it will be sheer existence. It's not going to be an awful lot better. Your concern will be just getting by. And as I said, in the urban environment, that's all you'd be able to manage. Again, in the suburban and in the rural, they'll find it an awful lot easier. The sheer amount of room that they'll have to be able to store stuff. Also, with the best will in the world, whenever people are living in the city centres, people tend to spend an awful lot more in terms of rent because they want to be crucial. They want to be close to where the action is. They want to be in the life of the city. Well, the life of the city is going to be fairly cutthroat. So, from my point of view, would I go to the city centre? Not at the point of a shotgun. No, not a chance. The closest I would get to a city is suburban life, where you're 2 miles away from the countryside. You turn around and you make a run for it. You may be able to sort of sit there for the first few days that people sort of go crazy around you, and then as soon as the smoke dies down, get out and run. Your cars may be hidden in the garage out of harm's way. You've got X number of tins stored. How you store them, it depends on you. Whether or not you've actually got a cupboard, a spare bedroom, a basement in some cases, and you have all of this stuff ready stored. People in the city, in the what I tend to think of as rabbit warren bits of the city, they don't have that sort of room to play because space is at a premium in the city. Whenever you get to the suburbs, space is there's a bit more to play. You can get a fairly decent sized house within a commute of the city, and you have all the storage space that you want. Conversely, in that case, if you're stuck and you're trying to get out from the city, at least you know where you're going. You're going out to your own home where you have all your necessities sitting stacked up for you. So your number one job is get home. Once you get home, everything the game changes immediately. You get in, you lock your door, and you hunker down and you say, the rest of the world can go to hell. As long as you're okay and as long as your family's okay. Everybody else can go hang. Rural, if you're living in a rural environment and you're stuck in the city, you're in diffs until you can get out there. The hard part is going to be communication, letting people know that you're okay, that you're going to be safe. If you normally get train transport or something like that, or public transport, and the public transport's defunct, you have to arrange to get some sort of transport yourself. Now, say for instance you live 80 miles out of London. That's an hour's commute, an hour and a half commute. You have to be able to get out of London and get there. How you're going to do it? From my point of view, this is going to sound stupid, but for a working person of sort of less than 50, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get something like a bicycle and have it stashed in your place of work or close to your place of work that you can actually get to it. Because otherwise you're walking or you're getting a lift, and that's going to be rough. And remember, we were talking about the concept of communication being down, because communication's down, power is down, transport is down. You, Joe Soap, you're trying to get home from your place of work to your own house. Say, for instance, you're travelling that even 30, 40 miles. You try walking 30 or 40 miles. It's a long walk. Your legs are sore at the end of it. That's going to take you 2 days probably to walk 30 miles. That's a brave stretch. When was the last time you walked more than 4 miles? I would put money that you haven't. I would put money that you haven't even ridden a bicycle for 4 miles. Most people haven't. So you have got to think of some sort of means of being able to get yourself out of the city back to your home. And you have to be able to subsist there. Now, most people can go for a couple of days without eating. In the West, there's normally a layer of fat on everybody, unless you're a catwalk model who's sort of got a body mass index of about 2. So, no, you'll live till you get home, but you have to get there. So, from my point of view, if you had the situation where there was a potential for, or you had some sort of advanced information that there could be an EMP pulse, a cyber attack, something very, very similar. If you were talking about a nuclear attack, I wouldn't go anywhere near the city to start with, because that's a target. You stay the hell away from all the targets. Take a couple of weeks holidays, call in sick, your granny's just died, your dog has a bad knee, you've got to bring it to the vet. Anything at all, as long as you don't have to go into the target environment. Because if something happens over the target environment and it goes boom, you're literally dust. You're just a shadow on the ground, you're a smear. So you don't want to be there. EMP pulse is a different matter, and a cyber attack is a different matter again. There's no physical attack, but it will cause severe confusion and some sort of impact where people can't go sort of, we'll go home tonight, everything will be fine. No, it won't be. Won't be fine. Where you have the cyber attack or an EMP pulse attack, and you're going to be looking to get home. The concept of having a bicycle stashed somewhere about your place of work, it's a possibility. It's a good alternative. Whether or not you're going to be able to do that or not, I don't know. Whether or not it would be possible to have the sort of advance warning, again, I seriously doubt it. It's a gamble that you have to take, whether or not you even have somebody that would be a close friend who would live in and around or close to your work, that would be within walking distance from your work, where you could go and stash a bike, stash some sort of bug out bag and be able to get it and run. Or if you have a locker in your work, and say for instance your work has a bicycle rack, get an old bike, stick it in there, chain it up and leave it. Take it out about once every 2-3 weeks, cycle around the place, move it so that it's never stuck in the same place and people don't sort of say, oh, that hasn't moved for an age. You take it and you move it around so that it disappears from one rack, moves to another different site. It's a possibility. So you have your bug out bag, stashed at a friend's or in your locker at work. And say every week you replenish or replace the energy bars, and the energy bars come out and they get used for this week's lunches, and immediately are replaced with a full week's worth of resource, a full week worth of emergency meals. So you've got a sort of a first in, first out recycling operation within your own bug out bag food store. That's a possibility. That'll work. Then you have the option of, if you live and work in the suburbs or live and work in the country, in a rural environment. If you're in the rural environment and there's no mechanism to get home other than your car, maybe it's as well to have a sort of a possibility or some sort of access to an older car for that type of event. A scrapper, essentially. If you're sitting in working on a farm or working in one of the factories, the many factories which are out in the country, and they've got a corner that is only used for general detritus and storage of rubbish. If you have an old scrapper, you don't need to worry about insuring it, you don't need to worry about taxing it, because you fill in a SORN, a statutory off-road notice, and you bring it to that place with your boss's approval, and you throw it into the corner and you leave it there. And every now and again you take it up and you drive around the site with it, just to make sure that the tyres are okay, just to make sure that the engine's okay, and then you put it back in the corner. So it's one lunchtime about every 4 or 5 weeks. So once a month, say, you take it out for the half hour, scoot around the place nice and quietly, not annoying anybody, not getting in anybody's way. You let the boss know that all you're doing is just keeping the engine going. That's fine. You know, that's sitting there. Anything goes wrong with your main car, that thing's sitting there to be able to get you home. How much does it cost for an old scrapper? It doesn't have to be roadworthy. You're not going to be taking it and driving all over hell's creation with it. You're talking about, in an emergency, getting you home. That's all it is. So how far do you live and work away, or how far do you work away from your home? If it's 30 miles, that's as far as that piece of junk needs to go. Just needs to be able to get your backside home to your family. It can die at the front door. That's all you need it to do. It's done its job. So that's a possibility for you. Again, rural environment makes it an awful lot easier. Again, with the rural environment in terms of eating on a very, very short notice. In an emergency, again, fruit, vegetables, energy bars, all of that is immensely easy to get. The 3-month business, very, very easy to feed yourself out in the country. If you have a crossbow, a bow and arrow, a shotgun, a pellet gun, you go out and you take out rabbits. I tell you now, I was discussing today with some other people. 1 rabbit or 2 rabbits and a handful of vegetables in a pot. That's good eating. That's a good rabbit stew will keep you going. Wood pigeon, anything else like that. Anything that runs or squats in the dirt, you can eat it. Even things like badgers and cats and stuff like that. Let's face it, you look at some of the stories coming out of Venezuela, they will give you their eye teeth for a decent dog. You know, and you're going, seriously, eating a dog? Yes, eating a dog. They will eat anything. You will eat anything that will walk on the ground. You look at a pigeon and you go, pigeon is rubbish, pigeon is absolutely filthy. You put a pigeon down in front of somebody who's hungry, ain't going to be much left. They'll be licking the flipping bones. So, Don't get too excited about sort of, oh, I couldn't eat that, I couldn't eat that. Yeah, you can. You can. One of the things I believe I remember reading somewhere was the SAS decided, right, okay, can you exist on rats? Yes, you can. Not great. Trust me, it's not great. But you can eat, you can live. There's a calorific input, and it comes out of rats, and it comes out of fish, and it comes out of whatever the hell else. Fish, there's another one. If you're living out in the country and there's a river anywhere near you, fish. You know, may not be the biggest, may not be the best. You can eat it. You stick it in a pan, you fry it, and it's edible. An awful lot of, say, wild vegetables, things like nettles. Again, whenever we were discussing this today, people were coming up with the idea of nettle soup and stuff like that. Personally, I've never had it. I understand that it's actually quite appetizing. I have eaten rabbit. I have eaten all of the rest of that sort of stuff. Not rat, I hasten to add. But I've eaten an awful lot of stuff that would sound weird. Things like snakes. A snake is actually edible as well. Eels. An eel is no more than a snake that sort of runs around in the water. Up in Toonbridge, they give the right teeth for eels. So, all of that is all edible. Out in the country, in the rural environment, finding food is so easy. Even the likes of mushrooms and stuff like that. So you got mushrooms, you got wild onions, wild garlic, whole pile of vegetables, as I said. A lot of stuff going. And if you have any sort of sense in the suburban environment, why aren't you growing stuff in your back garden? Even something as elementary as put in an apple tree, put in a pear tree in your back garden. You have apples and pears. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. And things like a herb garden and stuff like that, all of that is all elementary stuff. You can have all of that going very, very, very easily. And then, of course, what you don't eat in terms of, say, potatoes and stuff like that, you let it chit, C-H-I-T. You let it chit, and the eyes become little stalks, and then you put those in the ground, and they become next year's output for your potatoes. They're your next crop. So, urban, suburban, both good, both easy. Urban stuff, I can't see how people will live for any length of time in the urban environment. I can see existing for 3 weeks. I can see possibly existing at a stretch for a couple of months. But remember, if you're talking about that, you're possibly thinking, but I could always go and I can scavenge around Tesco's and steal a whole lot of tins of baby food and soup and rice and a whole pile of bowls of chilli. That's all well and good, but every other bugger within 20 miles is doing exactly the same. And if you're talking about going in and stealing a whole lot of stuff out of Tesco's, don't bank on it. Don't really put an awful lot of money on that one. And your corner shop's going to be exactly the same. And if he has any sense, he's going to be going, well, you see all the stuff here that's sitting on my racks, that's now going upstairs and it's going underneath my bed because that's going to feed me. So you go down to the corner shop and he's standing there with empty shelves and he says, somebody else came in about 20 minutes ago and took everything away. Well, what's your plan B? And in general, what is your plan B? This is just thinking outside the box. This is just sort of shooting the breeze. What is your plan? Do you have a plan? What's your plan B and C and D? Because you need to have all of those sitting ready waiting for you. because otherwise you are screwed. You have got to, and if you're a family man or a family person, you have got to think about more than yourself. Do not go, oh, I'm going to be absolutely fine because. No. The youngest / oldest / weakest / sickest in your group is going to slow you down. That is going to be the speed limiter. If you're trying to get a family out of London on bicycles, if you've got a 4-year-old on training wheels, guess how fast you're going to go? Not all that fast. So, again, the business about food. If you have a family of 4, we discussed the bulk of keeping water. We discussed the bulk of keeping food. So, let's see, 1,500 meals, say 3 months. 1,500 meals, nominally. And 1,500 litres of water. That's a ton and a half of water, and a ton and a half, maybe, yeah, give or take, say a ton of food. So you've got 2.5 tons of food and water, and that's just to keep you alive. That's nothing spectacular in terms of the actual cooking. So you have 2.5 tons of foodstuffs, and they're all tinned and stuff like that. So it's gonna last, but you're gonna be bored by the end of it. And your barbecue set plus, say, 3 gas tanks, because you'll go through a gas tank a month, and that's going to provide heating as well and washing. So 3 gas tanks a month. It's all going to mount up very, very fast. Your best bet is, at the earliest opportunity in the urban environment, you head out. And it's one of the reasons why I think that there are an awful lot of people who have disposable income in the urban environment. Right now, the smartest thing you could do would be to buy 1 or 2 acres of land off in the wilds of nowhere, and a second-hand mobile home or caravan, and get it set up there. And just leave it there, and every other week leave the family at home, and you as an individual, you as the thinker, you as the planner of the family, the one who has responsibility, let your partner know. Don't tell the children. I wouldn't tell the children. Just tell the children that you're away working. But let your partner know where everything is. Bring him or her out there a couple of times. Show them the way. Show them how to get there. Because if things go down and things go bad, he or she has to get there on their own, because you're dead. Right? So show them how to get to where it is. Show them the facilities. Tell them what's going to happen, and tell them under what circumstances everything goes skew if. I would store 50% of your water and your food out there in a cache. Where, I don't know, it depends on you whether or not it will be a special thing underneath the caravan itself, or in the basement of the caravan, or underneath the founds, or you dig a big hole and you hide it in the big hole, or you put it in a waste paper bin and you bury it. That's up to you. But the bottom line is, you need resources out there. So you have your food and your water out there, and a means to cook, and you've got shelter, and you've got heat, and there's a chemical loo at the bottom of the field. That's as much as you need for the short term. That will help you get by the first 6, 8, 10 months, and in that period you develop a new lifestyle. So you need all of the tools and stuff like that, which is going to be one of the next discussions. What tools do you need in that sort of situation? Okay, so that's food. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I've exaggerated, or if you think that I've underestimated the danger, please get back to me. Mark me up, mark me down, and subscribe. And please come back for a discussion, because you'll always get a good discussion here. Thank you and good night.